Hi, everyone. Welcome to DBC Inc. Facebook Live. We have a book birthday today. Happy book birthday, Sonny.
Thank you. Thank you.
We
I'm
have Sonny in the
thrilled.
house, and yes, he got his
I got
book
mine.
already. I'm so jealous. It is Learning in the Zone. We're going to learn all about it tonight. Well, a little bit about it, only 20 minutes about it, because the rest of the part, you're going to have to purchase it and learn a little bit more.
Yeah.
But we do want to introduce Sonny. He is new to the DBC Inc. family, but he's not new to writing. He is not new to this work. He's been doing it for a really long time. And we are so excited to have him as a part of the DBC family. And I'm sorry, but this cover, like, I know there's a lot of authors out there, and I always talk about your covers too. So I love them as well. But check this baby out. It is so beautiful. I was talking to Dave this morning, and he was talking about this cover too. Hi, Kristen. Hey, Dave.
Hi,
Welcome.
Dave. Hi, Kristen.
Um,
Welcome.
so, Sonny, before we dive into the amazing why the cover, like, I
Oh,
like your thoughts on the cover
yeah.
too. But before we
Sure.
dive into all things learning in the zone,
Mhm.
tell us a little bit about you,
Sure.
what you do, and then we'll dive into why you decided to write Learning in the Zone. We'll talk a little bit about that cover and how it represents what you believe in. And then we'll give the readers a little opportunity to ask questions. So if you guys have
Sounds
some
great.
questions as we're chatting away, be sure and share those. I mean, you get to talk to the author tonight yourself. That's always an exciting thing about the book birthday. And
Yeah.
so, Sonny, I should probably tell you Dr. Sonny, but
No, Sunny. So
I've just
please
been
call me
working
Sunny.
with you. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like we're besties.
Yeah.
But yes, thank you so much. Please do. And it's Magana?
Magana.
Magana.
Yeah. Rhymes
Sonny
with
Magana.
lasagna.
Yeah, so hard G. Got it.
Mhm.
Please do tell us a little bit about you, what you do, if people don't already follow you so that they know. And then we'll dive into the content of this
Sure.
beautiful gem.
No, that's great. No, I'm thrilled to be here, and thank you so much. I'm really grateful to you, Tara, and to Dave and Shelley and the entire Burgess family for welcoming me as a new author to this. Your organization, your community. It's a family, really. But you're right. This is not my first book. I've my first book was actually something called Enhancing the Art and Science of Teaching with Technology that I wrote with my mentor and lifelong friend, Dr. Robert Marzano. And that was, it got me on a journey really researching the sweet spot where pedagogy and technology yield the highest impact. So I'll tell you a little bit about myself and then say how that relates to that
Yeah.
work and now everything that I've done since. Is I'm a teacher, I'm a practitioner. Hi, Vicky. Hey, thanks. Yeah, yay. Yeah, the DBC family for sure. I was a biology teacher from New Jersey, South Jersey, where I'm from, and I started teaching in 1983, and I was actually doing some graduate work at the time. And so my very first year teaching, I was doing some pretty interesting research. So it just was a really fortunate series of events that in 1983 an Apple IIe came out in schools.
I love it.
And so my very first research study was as a graduate student at Rutgers, looking at the impact of the Apple II and a software called the Oregon Trail. And
Awesome.
so, like, you can't get, like, talk about throwback, Throwback Monday. The Oregon Trail was a really interesting study in engagement. But here's the thing that we found that was interesting. Now, at the time, this is the first time back in 1983 that technology was even looked at in learning. I mean, there were other
Right.
computers been around for a long time, but personal computers and the potential of PCs in the learning space was brand new, completely novel. And so myself and the Oregon Trail, there you go. Thanks, Vicky. What we were looking at was what is student engagement like? Like, how could we codify student engagement? So we used a classic social science coding system with a 3-2-1 scale. 3 is high, 2 is medium, 1 is low. And at first, students were really into the game. They're really interested in learning about the Oregon Trail. And so their engagement was very, very high. But then something happened that confounded all of us. Within a matter of weeks, their level of engagement dropped off really significantly. And that was the first time in 1983 that experienced something called the novelty effect. Fascinating, and I've been on the research bent ever since. The novelty effect was such that students were really interested in the game because it was so new, because the computer was new, the keypad was new, the monitor was new, moving along game, hitting a space bar, that was all novel. But novelty is not sustainable. So the first key lesson I learned about technology and pedagogy and impact is that the novelty effect can confound how we view student learning in technological systems or in systems that have technology. So that just struck me as like, wait a minute, that's not supposed to be like that. Kids supposed to enjoy this for a really long time. Why would they get bored? Well,
Yeah.
that process has kind of played itself over and over for the last 40 years, that technology's novelty just is not the same as learning impact. So then I switched and started looking at, okay, well, what's the pedagogy that is best suited by the technology? And that landed me on a pathway towards inquiry that had me doing really cool things with my kids. So I moved to Washington State, where I live now, and my first teaching gig in Washington was in an alternative school in Mukilteo, Washington. And so we started using technology right away. I started building the technology and science and math program at Aces Alternative High School. Go Aces!
Awesome.
Uh, and we had the first school that was connected to the internet. Our school was one of the first schools in the United States that was connected to, then it was the ARPANET, which was an Armed Forces network. And we got connected to that in 1990, which really was very early. It was the wild, wild west. And I just was exploring this huge space with the eyes of a practitioner researcher. Like, what works? How do I know it works? And how do I extend or build upon a foundation of knowledge? And I've been doing that ever since. So for 5 decades, I've been researching the sweet spot between technology, pedagogy, and learning. And now this new book is the latest iteration of that journey.
I I love this book. So I love the backstory because that gives
Yeah,
you some foundation, right, to build this
yeah,
house upon, which you've
yeah,
been building for a long time. But we didn't
yeah.
know. We didn't know.
No,
We just see the mansion. We can
yeah,
only see the mansion, but we didn't see all
right.
the fun that went behind the scenes. So tell us a little bit about learning in the zone. I mean,
Yeah,
what does that even mean? Like,
yeah.
what are we hoping
Great
the
question.
readers gain from this book?
Well, the book just preceding this was called Disruptive Classroom Technologies, and in that I developed a framework for learning called the T3 Framework for Innovation. And what I was looking for is a way to codify all the research that I compiled with Dr. Marzano, and I borrowed from others, including John Hattie, and wanted to find out, like, if I were a new teacher and I had to improve learning, what are the few things that I absolutely have to do to improve learning? And
Mhm.
so that's why I came up with the T3 framework for innovation. This book, Learning in the Zone, is an extension of that work. But the difference is, I really thought long and hard about strategies and instructional strategies and pedagogy. Like most researchers, we look at what teachers do. We study teaching behaviors, we study teaching decisions and curriculum, content, and assessment strategies. What we don't seem to do a very good job of is studying what makes great learning.
Right.
What is it about learning? So I've been on a quest to sort of find a unifying theory of that sounds funny, I suppose, a unifying theory of learning. Like, what does great learning look like? What does the research tell us we should be doing? And then what are the practical aspects of being a teacher inform my decision making about how can we support great learning? So I came up with this idea of, like, the zone, because I'm a musician. I'll show you some of my guitars on the wall. There's my beautiful Fender
Love,
Stratocaster, Seafoam Green Fender Stratocaster,
love it.
uh, and so I love music. I love rock and roll music. I love playing music. I'm in a band. I've been playing for, gosh, almost 50 years. And I musicians have this idea that's called playing in the pocket. And when you're playing in the pocket, you're jamming, you're grooving with your other bandmates, and like you feel like you just can't miss. Nobody hits a bad note. Nobody misses, a beat. You're just in the zone. But we call it being in the pocket. And I wondered, is there such a thing as a zone of learning? Is there such a thing as an optimal learning zone? Turns out there is. There is. And it's something that anybody can access. But it's that moment when we connect the head and the heart. Aristotle said, thousands of years ago, that an education of the head without an education of the heart is no education at all.
That's right.
That's such an important idea. Educating the heart and not educating the head and not educating the heart is no education at all. So how do we connect a learner's passions and their purpose with their cognitive capacities? And when we connect the head and the heart, that leads to performance possibilities where we can go well beyond anything we even expected we could do. And that's what learning in the zone is. It's that moment when our passions and our cognitive abilities converge to propel our performance well beyond our expectations.
I love it. And I think you do. Of course, I love it because we've talked about this multiple times.
Yeah.
But I feel like everyone here is just like, what? And at the same time, you're like, of course. And then you're like, how? Right? So how do we do that? Like, that's the big thing. And I feel like the book really dives into that. It's not just philosophy. It's also like, how? Like, how do we get
it's got to be practical.
How do we make it happen? And I don't want us to tell everyone because they need to purchase the book. I mean, we have to give you some things. We only have like 6 minutes because this is a really short show.
Okay.
But then we have to tease you a little bit. You just need to go purchase it so you can get all the information. But before we let Sonny out of here, he loved the cover when it came. And so you've heard a little bit about the background. You've heard a little teaser about this awesome resource that, by the way, John Hattie is the forward. Just throwing that out there. That was like a
very
really
kind of
tell. I'm super excited about it. He said, I have this great forward that I think it's really going to happen. And we were just like, I wonder who this great guy is. And then it came in. I was like, whoa, he wasn't kidding. But tell us
very gracious of him.
It's so amazing. So amazing. What did I well, let's let them read the forward. Let's not get more because I always want to share way too much. I'm like a kid at Christmas time. I'm like, just take your gift on December 1st.
Right.
I don't want to wait till the 20th. I want you to open it now. So tell us a little bit about this cover and how it felt like it captured the thoughts and the philosophy that the book really is trying to share with the world.
Yeah, I think the designers did a beautiful job capturing my thinking and my vision for this. And so the subtitle of the book, the title is called Learning in the Zone, but the subtitle gives a bit more detail. Yeah, sure. It's called, the subtitle is The 7 Habits of Meta Learners. So a good question is, what is meta learning? Well, think of it this way. If metacognition is thinking and learning deeply about our thinking, I've introduced a new concept called meta learning. And meta learning is the ability to think and learn deeply about how well we can learn, unlearn, and relearn. So now I'm introducing a new concept about what do I mean by learning? What are the skills that students need to acquire now so that they can be successful at the present moment and well in the future? They need to be able to optimize their ability to learn, unlearn, and relearn. And that's what I call meta learning. And it seems to be there are 7 habits that are tightly aligned with an explosion in student learning. And so this cover was so beautiful because there are 7 colors in the spectrum of light. And so it's a very artful metaphor for the 7 habits. And here's the thing. Once we get really good at those strategies, they start off as strategies. They start off with things we have to do with some intentionality and a little bit of work. But over time and with practice and ample feedback, they become habits, meta learning habits. And when all those habits converge and we're doing them without much cognitive load, then we're in the zone. So that's where we get to that center where we can learn anything. And I think that's our birthright. Remember, I'm a biology teacher, so we're all Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens are born to learn. Maybe that's going to be a cover of my first album, Born to Learn.
I love it. I love it. I think you could rock that.
We're born to learn. And so the cover just beautifully illustrates that idea very artfully. And when people start developing these strategies, you can apply them to anything. And I learned these strategies by learning how to play guitar.
So amazing. I tried to get a bigger picture, but it's just spinning.
Oh, that's
you
okay.
you guys will just have to see this one over on the side.
There you
I tried
go.
a bunch of times,
That's
but
okay.
it is so powerful. And I love how you said, like, when each one, like when you described it to me, how each one just kind of intertwined to each other. The colors kind of changed slightly.
That's right. That's right. You create new innovations. Yeah, and it's beautiful. That's well, for example, the first I'll tease everybody with the very first habit. This is a habit that we need our students to develop, and it starts off as a skill. And you need strategies. You need things that are ways of uh, um, doing procedures that are strategies. Here's the first one: learners need to commit to their learning intention, their own personal mastery goal. Until the learner's committed, they don't own the learning. They don't own the outcome of the learning. They don't own the process for their learning. They don't own their learning at all. The very first strategy, which becomes a habit, is to commit. And once one commits to mastery, nothing will stand in our way. We go forward, galvanized with our hearts and our heads, with full steam ahead, and damn the torpedoes. Nothing's going to stop us. That was a Tom Petty reference, by the way.
I love it.
So that's the first habit. And so how can we help students in classrooms all across the country learn the strategy of making a commitment? And it turns out it's fairly easy. We just have to know what the learning intention is. And we need to be able to identify what success looks like, and then have students compose, make a composition, produce a representation of their mastery learning goal. So they own it. It's theirs. They own the process. They own the strategies. They own the techniques that they'll use. And that's a tool that's best shared.
I love it.
So yeah, that's the first one, commit.
And that's a lifelong, like, I feel like everything within this book, which the whole point of it is that it is teaching us to be lifelong learners, right?
Yes,
Forever
exactly.
learners.
Yeah.
But that is a skill where I think there's so many, even adults, that will read this book and be like, okay, that's the difference. Like, I just need to be committed. But then you wonder, okay, why am I not committed? Why are our students not committed to the purpose? Why is the intention not clear for them, or what is it that's causing their head and heart to not be in it?
Right.
And I saw Stephen say, we call this the buy-in, and it has to be like even more so. I would say, like, sometimes you can get excited about something, like people get excited, for example, about exercise, right? They're real excited about it for about a month, and then they're like losing it. So how do we commit,
get that buy-in
for a long time, even through the messiness of it? And I think that's the thing with learning too. It's not always pretty, and it's not always great. And you talked about that earlier. The novelty of it will not be sustainable. Like, even no matter what the learning is. I mean, you said technology, but really anything, because not everything's always fun. But how do we get in that zone where it's always like, it's helping us to grow to the next level and to the next level, until the learner wants that. They want all these circles to connect, and they want to just keep moving forward. And I feel like your book, not only does it give the philosophy for how that we as humans can get to that place, no matter what you're learning, but it kind of helps us. It does help us as educators to also get our students to understand that at an early age, so they can then take it on into their adult life, their work life, and be able to be like these lifelong, a forever learner. Like, is there a better thing?
Oh,
Like,
well, no, I think no. If you, particularly if one is a forever meta learner, because then,
exactly. Sorry,
that's
I'm not even using the
lifelong.
right
No, no, you're right. No, but it
terminology.
is. It's you can learn anything. But learners, I really appreciate the question about the buy-in factor. Well, it turns out that's right. So thank you, Vicky. Student agency is so important. So how do we help develop student agency? And the reality is, students come into our classrooms filled with lots of motivational resource. Kids are highly motivated. But what is it that we can do to get students to be motivated to learn as opposed to, say, play a video game? You know,
Mhm.
if you think about the gaming theory, which came from education research, actually,
Right.
interestingly
Right.
enough, gaming theory was from educational psychology. Students really thrive when they start to develop their own feedback loops. That is another meta learning habit. I think it's habit number uh, 7 that or 6 rather, that students engage in developing their own feedback loop so they know where the target is, they know how far away from the target they are, and that compels them forward. So really the buy-in process is about intrinsic helping students tap into the limitless intrinsic motivation that they have within inside themselves all the time. Limitless motivation is a pre-existing condition, and our role, it would best suited to remove the obstacles that impede students from realizing their own limitless motivation to learn.
I love it. I
So
say that all the time. I'm
and it's
still
fun.
loving
It's
it.
fun. It's fun.
It
So
is.
schooling, if we can reimagine schooling, so that students can challenge themselves, work at their own pace, work together, level up when they need to, and start to establish their own feedback loops where they're the source of the feedback. Too often, oh, thank you. I love this. Vicky, learned so much while observing your 3 teens in gaming. You bet. They do it as a community. That's one of the other habits there, Vicky, is learning in contributive communities. That's a meta learning habit. So I'm really excited. So, Vicky, I want you to tweet out your uh, uh, sh- uh, uh, experiences with your
Yeah.
students, with your learn, with your 3 teen sons or your 3 teens as you read this book. But when we learn in a community, my research that again I've been doing this for 40 years, we learn better together than we
Yes,
do alone.
for
And
sure.
yet in our schools, students generally they may sit together, but they often work alone.
Right.
Too often, they work in isolation. And too often, learners get feedback from a source other than themselves. And the
Mhm.
feedback gets returned to them so late after the learning moment that the value of that feedback, all right, right on, Vicky. Will do. The value of the feedback that comes too late is a concept that I developed with Dr. Marzano called the feedback gap. The longer the amount of time when a student does an assessment item and gets feedback on how well they did, when that time is great, the value of the feedback just diminishes, even if it's high quality feedback. The feedback gap diminishes the value of any feedback to improve learning
Right.
options and learning
Because
outcomes.
you're in the moment at that
Exactly.
moment. So
Exactly.
like you're saying, if we can get to this place where we can be our own feedback loop, like
Right.
if we can,
Learn how to do that.
right. And I feel like, I think a lot, I always think in exercises, so whatever, but I mean, it works. But
Mhm,
a lot of times I'll record my lifts. I did it tonight
mhm,
because I know my coach has to see like 15 other people.
mhm,
And so if I can record the lift,
mhm.
I can slow it down
Right.
before the next lift
There you
and
go.
see where I messed up. And if I notice that I keep making the same mistake, I'll just go grab my coach. Hey, I just need you to see this piece right here. And we did it tonight. I was like, can you help me there?
There you
And
go.
this is the same mistake I'm making every single time, but I'm not able to fix it. He saw it once, gave me a cue. I fixed it for the rest of the 6 lifts that we had to do that night. Tonight, this happened
Mhm.
tonight. And I think that's what you're saying with students. If we can
Yeah,
get to this place where they're like, well, I'm just checking it myself because I want to
that's
be
right.
better.
That's
And they're
right.
like, okay, I still have this problem. It's still a problem. And I've tried all the things, the tools that I have to try to fix it. So now I'm
Mhm.
going to reach out to my teacher and advocate for
Exactly.
myself.
That's it. That's
I
it.
can move forward. And
Mhm.
I'm not saying I'm the best meta learner out there. I'm just saying it's a great skill to have no matter
Yeah,
what you do because you're
sure.
always trying to improve and you have like there's nobody giving me a trophy. There's nobody. It's intrinsic
It's
motivation.
intrinsic motivation.
I want
Exactly.
to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And our students have that. Our students have copious amounts of intrinsic motivation. We don't know the limits of human motivation. Let me put that in context. There are no known limits
That's
to
awesome.
human motivation. So why not allow students the opportunity to practice and play with resources and strategies that help them generate their own feedback loops that are closed instantly. Like when you play a game, so let's say Mario Brothers, you know exactly how you're doing at the moment you're doing it, and often you learn the game by playing it. Well,
Right.
that's a very natural human condition.
Mhm.
We make the path by walking on it. We make the path by walking on it. So just by trying these strategies, knowing they exist and then trying them, we're establishing new neural networks in our brains that connect to our emotional center. So in the book, I introduced this metaphor of the human mind as a two-sided coin. On one side is the cognitive capacity. On the other side is our emotional agency and our emotional knowledge and self-regulation capacity. We need to recognize that it's a simple metaphor, but I think it's useful because when students align their passions and what they really care about and use that as the lens through which they explore new knowledge content, they'll fly through it. And my research has been shows very strongly that when students engage in these kinds of things, these strategies, their learning accelerates as much as a 4-time gain in student learning, a quadrupling of student learning. That sounds crazy, but I'll tell you, it's not. My research was recently peer reviewed by Professor Hattie and Professor Fullen and other folks, and was inducted into the Oxford Research Encyclopedia for Education, which is about one of the highest levels of peer-reviewed research that exists in the English language. So these things that are in the book have been put through the scrutiny of rigorous meta-analysis, rigorous educational research. And so what I'm saying is highly reliable. The best part is it's awfully fun.
And it's attainable.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
yes,
totally attainable.
all of those things, but it's also so practical and applicable,
Yeah,
which
that's right.
I so appreciate. Because sometimes, you get this heavy research idea, right? And you're like, okay, but like trying to put that into practice is kind of hard, or you
Yeah,
don't know the how to put it in practice. And I feel
right.
like learning in the zone is just the perfect combination. You guys are going to all want this as a
Yeah.
part of your resource. I personally love it. And I'm so envious that Dave and Sonny, sorry, Dr.
No, Sonny, call me Sonny. Yeah.
Both have their coffees and I don't have mine yet, but it's okay. When
Mhm.
I get mine, I'll have a selfie out there sharing all my learning as
Yeah.
well. So, Sonny, this has just been the most beautiful chat. I don't want to
Mm.
give them any more hints. We've already given them
Okay.
3 of the meta learning
Okay.
strategies. Now you got to go get the book to get the other 4 and all the awesomeness that's within it. I'm
Yeah.
telling you, this book is amazing, and it will be something you're going to want to do book studies with your teachers, with your staff when the school starts back up again. So be looking for that. We'll be creating a book study coming soon,
Yes. Yes.
and I definitely want this as a part. This needs to be in the back of our minds as educators as we're teaching. It just needs to be there. So we're constantly applying it all throughout the year. It's not something that's just like a one and done. This is something that's
Yeah.
going to change your practice forever. And
Mhm. Yeah.
your kids are going to be thankful, but also your staff. Like if you
Yeah.
are a leader, your staff is also going to change the way they
Mhm.
think about learning as well. So pick up your book. It's on Amazon. Dave has dropped the link over in the comment
Thank you.
section, also above and below this video. And if you want a little bit more of Sonny tonight, we're not done. He is going to
Mhm.
come over and host on TLAP Twitter
Mhm.
chat. So join us over there on hashtag TLAP. All you have to do is follow along, answer the questions with A1, A2, anything like that. He will put the questions out Q1, Q2, whatever. And you're going to use the hashtag TLAP. If you use that hashtag, as well as you could use hashtag learning in the zone. You
Learning in
definitely
the zone.
use that while you are learning from this book too. But join us over there for more conversation about this. We'll have another 30-minute conversation in just 30 minutes at
Yeah.
8 o'clock Central. So do join us there. And, Sonny, we are so proud of you. Happy book
Thank
birthday.
you.
they want to follow you on
Mhm.
social media as they're
Sure.
learning from Learning in the
Mm.
Zone, we gave them the hashtag. It is the title of the book, hashtag Learning in the Zone, easy to remember. How can they follow you?
On Twitter, I'm just at Sonny Magana, Magana. So follow me on Twitter, I'm on there frequently, so I'll respond. Or you can also go to my website, which is maganaeducation.com. That's my last name, Magana, education.com. And in fact, one of the things I'm most pleased with about working with everybody at Dave Burgess is that you guys have given me great suggestions. So about tools. So in each chapter, there are specific tools. Oh, thank you very much for that. There it
Yeah.
is. There are specific tools and templates that you can implement right away to start to develop these habits. And I have to give a quick shout out to my dear friends, Marlena Hebern and John Carippo. I love you guys. The Edge of Protocols are just an awesome treasure trove. We're working together now, and so look for, if you're a fan of Edge of Protocols, you'll see some of them in this book, and new Edge of Protocols that are aligned to these 7 habits. So these are meta protocols.
I love it. I'm so excited. I'm so excited for our readers to get this book too. So do check it out. Grab your copy, take a selfie, share all your learning with everyone. We love all of those things. And Sonny, we will see you over on the Twitter chat. Can't wait to
Okay,
see you there. And friends, why don't you guys all join us? Take a little break,
sure.
go use the potty, go eat, whatever you got to do. And then I'll see you at 8 o'clock over on Twitter, hashtag TLAP. So thanks again. Happy book
See you
birthday.
there.
Welcome to
Thank
the
you.
DBC family. We are so
Thank you.
excited to have you. And bye, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on a Monday night. Grab it, Melissa. You're going to want this
Yeah.
book. You will. I promise.
Thank you so much,
All right.
everyone. See you
Bye,
soon. See you
everyone.
see you in half an hour. Bye bye.